It's time to dig into LIEnette's deposition, and I promise you, it's littered with what she is, filled with lies. George and I could never have imagined coming to Florida that our life would be twists and turns around every bend and every corner. We had no idea what would happen in the courts, or that we'd be stalked, or that this little town would be filled with so much corruption. And for us to find it goes to the county level, the state level. Every single day, something else happens that shocks us. And you're about to be shocked as well. We're going to dig into LIEnette's deposition. And John CROOK was actually scheduled to have a deposition as well. Now, the first thing you need to know is they actually dodged their first depositions. And this story came up that her mom had died. My goodness, 3 times apparently. She died and then was brought back to life. This is like Rasputin, the lover of the Russian queen. They tried to kill this man again and again and again and again. And every time they thought he was dead, guess what? He's like, "What's up, guys? I'm alive." Well, it's a miracle. After she dodges her first deposition, her mom, Mama Sputin, not Rasputin, Mama Sputin. From here on out, it's Mama Sputin because this woman doesn't die. She's a miracle, a walking miracle. Mama Sputin is alive again. It's miraculous. She's healed. Everything is okay. But then she is scheduled in court by the judge, DeThomasis, in hearing number 3 to have her deposition. And so is John CROOK. And they are told they will not get out of this deposition. Actually, let's go back to hearing number 3. Hearing number 3 has still not been released to George and myself. And there is a huge reason why. The courts won't release it. And this thing is blowing up out of proportion. Here's what we can tell you. Number 1, Judge DeThomasis has definitely watched the videos. Number 2, we know that many of the staff in the Levy County Courthouse division are watching. And it's gone much higher than that. We know that this is touching people at the state level as well. The interest involved around all of this, to the point that even Judge DeThomasis just said 2 days ago, I believe, that this hearing has turned toxic. Okay, let me share something very clearly and plainly. This woman has always been toxic, and she brings her toxicity to everywhere she runs to after she burns every bridge. And then she stalks us here to Otter Creek. And then he slaps a temporary injunction on me, not based on what I've done, based on what others she claims has done because of videos I've posted, and based on lies she told about my first lawyer. And now I have a temporary injunction on me. And he wants to say this is turning toxic. She's always been toxic. We've got the proof of her toxicity in people's lives from doctors about her. But we're not going to share that yet. And I promise you, once you see it and what this woman has done in people's lives, it will make you vomit. I'm still holding back the vomit from the trail and path of destruction from this woman. It's horrendous, and it's hurt so many people. And this is the first time in her life somebody, 2 people on YouTube have stood up against her and shared the truth about her and are fighting against what she's done to people. Let's get back to the deposition. Now, in court, in hearing number 3, Judge DeThomasis tells her as she complains and says, "I have nobody to watch my child." And he clearly states, "You have this much time to make proper arrangements." "But I don't have anybody, Judge. She has a life-threatening metabolical disease." Over and over again, we hear this term, life-threatening metabolical disease. Number 1, it's not life-threatening. Number 2, it's cared for with proper diet. That's it. It's pretty easy. There are many individuals out there in the world today that actually are functioning just fine. And some of those individuals are family members of some of our viewers, like Dawn, who's in Hawaii. And we even got to meet her son. He has the exact same thing, and he's fully functioning just fine. And I'm pretty sure Dawn didn't go around the world saying, he's got a life-threatening metabolic disease. She probably went, this is my son, and I love him, and I'm proud of him. And he's going to grow up to be the greatest adult ever. And she loves him, and she is proud of him. And he's a normal functioning human being. The judge tells her, LIEnette, that you have more than enough time to get proper plans. And she goes, no, judge. We can't have anybody. There's nobody in our life to watch her. Except LIEnette has clearly posted that 98% of the people of Otter Creek love her and support her. I guess I don't understand this, how 98% of the people of Otter Creek love her and support her, yet nobody's willing to watch her? Nobody? 98%? I mean, there's 100 people. I think she's trying to say, Jeremy and George don't like me. All 98 other people do. Then go to every single one of those 98 people and ask them to watch your child, if it is indeed even her child, right? But then there's an excuse there. I mean, a victim mentality always has another excuse. She has a life-threatening disease, except because she says nobody can come and watch her. Nobody. Except she's posting that she's so proud of all the drug addicts that they have helped on the property with the tortoise rescue, which reality, we all know the tortoises are the ones that need rescued. So she has a revolving door of drug addicts coming in on the property. That's okay for the child. But somebody, the 98% of Otter Creekians who love and support her, they can't? The deposition starts, and my lawyer clearly explains that this is the exact same as being in a courtroom. And it is, a deposition is. Anything you say can and will be used against you. It is a legal proceeding, just as if you're in a courtroom. And it's in the camper. Not only is it in a camper, the child is listening to all of this. The child is there. You will get to see the full deposition. And you will do one of two things. You either laugh hysterically, and at other points you will be not happy that a child is witnessing this behavior. The behavior was yelling and screaming and volatile language and curse words, even though she has posted that they never ever cuss in front of this child. And yet the child's right there the whole time, and she's getting up close to the camera, screaming and cussing at my lawyer. And you have to understand that anything can and will be used against you. This is all being filmed, and this is a reality in the court process. This is a deposition. This is being asked questions. So she thinks she's on her own as an attorney during this point in time, and she's objecting. The very first thing she does, I object, I want a continuance. Okay, well, number one, our lawyer clearly states to her, number one, you're not a lawyer. And number two, you are a witness. You're being asked questions. The only thing you can do is answer questions. You cannot object in this type of situation whatsoever, right? You can't. It doesn't happen that way. Depositions, you're asked questions, you answer questions. And she wants a continuance. So what my lawyer does is goes, okay, let's pause right here. I'm going to call Judge DeThomas right now. And he's boop, 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 boop. Hey, she's asking for a continuance. Now, you have to understand, Judge DeThomas has already been very clear that there will be no more continuances. This is going to be tried, and it's going to be finished, and it's going to be tied up, and it's going to be done in January. And Judge DeThomas does not take the phone call. Lawyer hangs up and goes, you're out of luck. We're moving forward with the deposition. Now, anything that can be said can be used against you, just like the lawyer told her in Ohio court, which our Florida lawyer was present during that via Zoom as well. And the Ohio lawyer said, are you sure you want to testify? And boy, does she jump at that opportunity. Yes, I do. As she continues to post and tell everyone, I got a fraudulent civil protection order against her in Ohio. Well, number one, Ohio isn't in the business of giving out fraudulent civil protection orders. I don't even know what a fraudulent civil protection order would look like. I mean, how do you give out a civil protection order that's fraudulent? It's based on evidence. Here's all the evidence, all the evidence, all the evidence, all the evidence. And the insane part of this all is she keeps adding more evidence and adding more evidence and adding more evidence. Like her wanting to play the video of John in the road as George and I stop by and say 10 feet, 10 feet. And then John tells me to suck his. And then he tells my lawyer, no, he was talking to LIEnette. No, I was talking to LIEnette. And my lawyer's like, you told your ex-wife in the middle of the road to suck your... And he's like, yeah, I did. I've just come to the conclusion that these people are so ignorant and so foolish and lack any amount of wisdom whatsoever that all they know how to do is further incriminate themselves. For example, let's take an outsider. Somebody who doesn't even live in Otter Creek and claims they do live in Otter Creek. But now, because they've been called out on it, they claim they don't live in Otter Creek. And they're in the bushes and the trees and all the brush. And they're stalking George and I, filming us. Do you understand how foolish this individual is? Number one, he broke the law. Again, you're going, okay, wait. Jeremy, you film all the time. I film within the law. If you're going to pick up a camera, you better know what the laws are in your state. And every state is different. Wiretapping laws, then there's one-party consent, two-party consent, all-party consent. Florida is an all-party consent state, unless you are on public property. So let me unpack that for you. If I'm in the road and I'm filming somebody on public property, town hall, if I'm in the road and I'm filming, I can film and go by John and LIEnette's. I'm on the public property, the road. I can be on public property, go by John and LIEnette's, and I can film all of that. Perfectly legal. Now, I can be on my property, and anybody that's on my property, I can film them, regardless of what they say. Just like driving on the public road and filming John and LIEnette, I can film anybody on my own personal property at any time. If I'm on somebody else's private property, then if I'm filming anybody, it doesn't matter where they're at. If I'm standing on that, if I'm all of a sudden, here's a line on the ground. This over here is town hall. This is town hall. And here's the line over here. This is privately owned property. I fall under the Florida state rules of all party consent. I cannot film anybody unless I have their full consent. And here we have a stalker filming myself, George, Deanna, female stalking. Filming females. It doesn't matter if we're at town hall. It doesn't matter if we're in the road. You are not the owner of this property over here. This is privately owned property. Therefore, you must legally get all of our consent to actually film us. And what does a moron like that do? Put it all on the internet. Boy, the lawsuit that's coming for that individual, I don't think he's going to be able to withstand it. But then again, you have people like Russ the Sus, who then holds, breaking sunshine law, illegal meetings outside of town hall. He is not allowed to discuss anything unless he's in an actual meeting. Neither can Don. And neither can individuals, whether they're there clapping them on or not, be a part of the process and go, oh yeah, you go, you go, you go. No, they just broke completely and totally sunshine law. It just blows my mind. The ignorance just blows my mind. And this is LIEnette in court and in depositions continuing to further incriminate themselves. I'm at the point that I'm surrounded by ignorance. And I don't know why my mind is blown by it. I guess I'm just not used to it. This is not something I am used to, where everyone around me is ignorant. Now, I say that in the aspect of Russell, Don, Mary, individuals that claimed that they were from Otter Creek, and they're not. They're from Elsie. I guess that's where manatees live. And individuals that stalk us to Otter Creek. Individuals that continue to try and get into our lives regardless of the protection that we put around our lives. These ignorant people continue to try and permeate our lives, even though we try to continue to put protection out there. These individuals are so foolish, they have no clue how to protect themselves. All they do is further incriminate themselves. And that's LIEnette to a T in the deposition. So you're thinking, how did LIEnette further incriminate herself in a deposition? Her name's LIEnette. She lies. I don't know if in her mind she thinks she's telling the truth, but it just goes on and on and on. Now, the burden of proof will be on my side to actually show that each thing is a lie. The funniest part was, at one point, she yelled and screamed at our lawyer and said, "You're calling me a liar!" She got right up with that turtleneck and that turtle beak, and she went, "You're a bad man!" and screaming and yelling. It was complete and total insanity. It reminds me of somebody who is an addict. And there's plenty around here. Remember the addict, the real estate addict that actually crashed through our gate? And then LIEnette tried to say that I had some kind of relationship with her. She was our real estate agent. Nope, she was just there in the corner buying drugs all the time. Never met her before in our life. Funny thing is you remember on that corner when we used to have a drive-through sign? Well, we did have one. And that woman, Michelle McCain, yesterday found our video. It's amazing. It came up in her suggested. So funny because she then posted publicly on her YouTube about it. Okay? This is what I'm talking about in regards to ignorance, foolishness, asinine stupidity. She goes, the only... T-H-E-E, I don't know, maybe she grew up in King James era, and now she somehow got a time machine into present day 2024. The only bad neighbor is you. You're the biggest something baby ever and liar. Okay, so she's calling me a liar. Why would she call me a liar? Because she's showing a picture of her history. Because she's saying that I said Kenny Jr. stole the sign. Why is she calling me a liar? She's so dumb, she's posting that she has the sign. This is how ignorant and foolish these individuals are. She's literally posting publicly on Facebook, he's lying. Kenny Jr. doesn't have the sign. I have it. She stole it. This is LIEnette to a T, the same mentality. It is chemically, whether it's recreational or prescription, induced psychosis, who knows what you call it. Insanity is what I called it. Truly, it's insanity. To the point, there were sometimes in the video, she was popping pills. Like, I couldn't believe it. My mind was completely and totally blown. The screaming, the yelling, the cussing, the cursing, the child right there, John right there, communicating with them. I'm just sitting there going, I have never, ever, ever seen anything like this in my life. And I know you probably never have either. As a matter of fact, we thought about this. Maybe we should send this to other deposition lawyers and have them evaluate this. Use this for training purposes in legal colleges and settings, because my goodness, you would learn so much from this of what to do based on our lawyer, what not to do based on LIEnette. And you're going, wait, hold a second. What do you mean, what not to do? Okay. You understand we have this thing called the Fifth Amendment, all right? And the Fifth Amendment, George is already giggling behind me, aren't you?
I was trying not to cough.
Oh. Okay, well, there you go, cough break. All right, we have this thing called the Fifth Amendment, all right? And the Fifth Amendment is used typically for criminal cases, almost exclusively, because it doesn't do anything in a civil environment. Oh, there goes Brian sneaking by. Here, I like this seat better. I'm gonna switch right here. How's that? Here, come on in closer, George. All right. Brian was sneaking by, and he was thinking that he was interrupting, but it was just fine. Okay, so we have this thing called the Fifth Amendment, right? And the Fifth Amendment, basically in a nutshell, is if you don't want to answer a question because you are guilty, and you don't want to further incriminate yourself with that guilt, you say, I plead the Fifth. Now, this works in a criminal environment, not a civil environment. And it was very interesting because we all had our guesses how many times she would actually say she pleads the Fifth, because she had already messaged and communicated with other individuals that a lawyer told her, just plead the Fifth. Just plead the Fifth. Okay. That doesn't work in a civil aspect. You know what works? Telling the truth. That's what works. Just tell the truth. I plead the truth. I plead the truth. And by my count, okay, I counted every time she said I plead the fifth. I was keeping a tally, okay? So my lawyer was in the shop, I was in the shop, and I was keeping a tally. My tally was 60 times. She's in 7 hours, which you're going, wow, that's really low. Well, at one point she went, I plead the fifth, 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 5 times in a row. I was like, wow, that was a doozy. I was like, I can't believe this is actually going on. It does nothing for her to plead the fifth because this isn't criminal. This is actually civil. Although she kept doing it over and over again. The funny part was she would go, I plead the fifth. And my lawyer would go, okay, just so we're clear, for the record, we understand, we're all on the same page. You are refusing or pleading the fifth to answer any questions in regards to this subject matter, this context. And she'd go, fine, I'll answer the questions. 60 times. 60 times. And then it would go round and round and round. And he would have to draw it back in and go, listen, stop. Like wait until you see the video. He would lay the ground rule again and again and again. Do not interrupt me. Only answer the question I ask, and don't go off on these trails of, my mom just died. Death is not something to joke around with. And it's not something to actually lie about either. And here we go.
I canceled it before I spoke to you. My mother died.
Okay, but Mama Sputin is alive and fine today. So, what is it? What is it? It is not something to flippantly throw out there and say things like that. It's not at all. It's not okay. It's never, ever, ever okay. Never. And it's not something to joke about. Now, I'm thrilled that nobody's family members have passed away. But I'm not thrilled that somebody would say things like that to actually dodge depositions and get out of things legally, or to prolong things. I mean, it's mind-blowing. As a matter of fact, George, our lawyer at one point said, what was he? He's like, this is the most... Truly, this is the most incredible thing ever. Because
she kept interrupting.
Every single time she interrupted. A 7-hour deposition that could have been done in 2 hours if she wouldn't interrupt, yell, scream, and yell profanities. And then it had to carry on to the next day. And it was scheduled for the next day. Except during this process, she gets communication, and somebody, I know, it's going to be hard for you to believe. Somebody sends her $7,000. This is a woman who could never fundraise or get any money, and she's posted like in 10 years, we never got any money for our tortoises. Not that she, by the way, she's illegally fundraising for private stuff with the 501c3. That's being reported as well. It goes on and on and on. So she's illegally fundraising, but somebody does. Some fool out there. Now, we know who it is, but this fool, this female, sends her $7,000. And she promises to pay it back. Okay, hold a second. A woman that's claiming under oath that her mom died, and her mom's not dead, do you really think this is a woman who says, yeah, I'll pay you back immediately? She's going to start paying back immediately. I got to emphasize that. She's going to start paying back immediately. You will never, ever, ever see a penny from this woman. Ever. There will be nothing to pay back. There will be nothing at all, ever, for her to be able to pay back. Now, you're going, Jeremy, how do you know that? Because I know the process and where this is all headed down the road. There will be nothing for her to ever pay back. Ever. And somebody was so foolish to give her $7,000. $7,000 are going to be burned up in court immediately, which then she's going to need 7,000 more. And then she's going to need 7,000 more. Then she's going to need 7,000 more. So the reality is this. George and I actually exposing the real LIEnette, the real John CROOK. and all the things they've done has actually, in the long run, helped them. They've been able to raise more money. They've been given more physical items and gifts than they've ever had before. Now, it's negative exposure, but she doesn't care. Now, she wants to run to a court and say, Jeremy's hurting me. The reality is this. She just proved there is no hurt. She just proved everything I'm doing is helping her. She just got $7,000, promising to pay it back to a person who will never see a penny again of it. So interestingly enough, we were not able to finish LIEnette's deposition, unfortunately. And so the next day, John CROOK was scheduled for his deposition. We had to reschedule her for part 2 or day 2 for deposition the following day, and then try and get John CROOK's in after her, which honestly, it could have kept going and going and going. Remember, she's the one that filed over 400 pages, which all of those pages have to be gone through in the deposition to see what she meant, how's it going. I mean, this is called right of discovery. You have to know what in the world she's saying, hey, this is evidence, okay? And so we may not even have gotten to John CROOK that day. We might have had to go to the next day. But during that time, since somebody did foolishly send her $7,000, very, very foolishly, she was able to get legal representation, and she started to proclaim online, I don't have to go to the deposition tomorrow. Oh, I'm so happy. Which she did have to go to the deposition because there was no official filings in the court system to say that she didn't. Until the very next morning, there was a filing and an asking of the judge to put the depositions on hold now that she has legal consultation. And let me emphasize this for a second. Do you understand? Somebody gave her $7,000 very foolishly. We've already hit that, okay? Now her lawyer, she has submitted over 400 pages calling it an evidentiary log, okay? Do you understand that lawyer himself with a team won't even be able to look at everything she's provided the court for that $7,000. And then he's going to require another $7,000. The $7,000 will be burned up before they even get into a hearing in court. Because just reading all of this is going to take more than $7,000. It's probably going to take $15,000. It's insanity. So, not only is LIEnette not thinking, the person who gave her $7,000 not thinking at all. This money is gone. Just gone. And then she's going to beg the same person for more money. And then claim, yeah, I'm going to pay it all back. Okay, so what the judge has done is the judge said, okay, all right, this is out of control. And he said, I'm going to have a meeting this morning, which was yesterday morning, with the 2 attorney represented, and we're going to figure out what's really going on. And so the judge did have a meeting, and he said very, very specifically, he told the attorneys, this thing has gone toxic, and I want it done, gone. In some ways, I have to think Judge DeThomasis is now regretting his decision to try and make case law here in Florida to attempt to take away not only my First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, but George's and everybody associated with us. Anybody who watches a video, anybody who comments anything on any of our social media platforms, and that could be the world, literally the world. It is Judge DeThomasis that said he could get a document to anybody in the world.
On the planet.
The planet! But he couldn't get me documents in Ohio for over 2 months when he had my address and the world knew where I was. Okay, so now he takes away everybody's freedom of speech. He takes away my legal right to my property. He has still taken away my legal right to drive on the road in front of my property. He will not allow me to drive on my road to have access to all of my access points to my property. And by the way, that is illegal and he cannot do that, but he has done that. And I have respected every aspect of what he's put in place while it's been in place. So I have not done that, but I will continue to fight that. I want that to be very, very clear. This judge cannot take away access to the public road, to all of my property. And he has, but I have honored that he has, and I will continue to fight it legally in the court system, which is a great time to remind everybody, don't ever contact anybody on our behalf. No one ever should be contacting anybody. These videos are a vlog of our life and the news stories of our life. And it is, for us, it's big news. And you can use it to learn. You can use it for education purposes. You can use it for entertainment. News is entertaining. There's no doubt about it. It's a vlog of our lives. It's accountability. I mean, a judge is going around taking away people's First Amendment rights. It's accountability. We have stalking neighbors who have stalked us, threatened to shoot us, and do other things to us, constantly have harassed us, saying they're going to jam things in our backsides. It goes on and on and on and on. And you understand that. It's accountability, okay? Nobody at any time should contact anybody. And we've never asked anybody to contact anybody. And this should never, ever, ever, ever go that route. As we've said from the very beginning, allow us to deal with everything legally. Allow us to take care of our own issues legally, which we are doing. So, Judge DeThomas has gotten together with these two attorneys now. And he said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want this thing cared for, and I want it out of my court. Not only does Judge DeThomas want it out of the court, I'm pretty sure the full entire state of Florida does right now because they're all watching. And he says, you guys are going to come together. Remember, we had, I think it was the 26th, we had our final hearing, right, George? 26th, yes, 26th, Friday the 26th. Supposed to be all done,
At
all
9
tied
a.m.
up. All done, tied up, wrapped, which would have never finished because just putting LIEnette on stand for 8 hours, she would never be done. The woman doesn't know how to land a plane. She just circles and circles and circles and run-ons. And so this final hearing at a bare minimum, in my mind, and I've been pretty dead on in most of this stuff, 3 days. 3 days hearing, for sure. But Judge Thomas has asked the two lawyers to file more motions. Now, when I'm saying motions, you understand, it's asking the judge to do something. You're filing a motion. For example, she's filing a motion for, she doesn't want to do any more depositions, filing a motion, no deposition for John, filing a motion for continuance, meaning I need more time. We're filing a motion, you drop this temporary injunction immediately based on lack of evidence. We're filing a motion for many things, okay? The third hearing was 11 motions. That's all it was. The third hearing was 11 motions. All in the aspect, most of them LIEnette's, like one of LIEnette's motions was, can I run for town hall office? Which, by the way, we addressed that in Ohio court. She went, I'm not running. I never filled out for an application. Which George and I right now are going, okay, hey, you know what? Let her run. We'll even vote for her. And then when she shows up, she gets arrested. Haul her off. And so at some point, we're sitting there going, man, these people just incriminate themselves so much. Another one of her motions was, I make a motion, Jeremy has to pay for my legal fees. And the judge is going, you're pro se litigant. You have no legal fees. Not that there would ever be any reason for me to pay any of her legal fees in the first place. There won't be. As a matter of fact, the lawyer that is now representing her, I guarantee you two things are going to happen, okay? Number one, I am going to be reimbursed for my legal fees. And now he's liable for 50% of that. Number two, she is going to verbally destroy him online, and he doesn't even know what he's gotten into yet. I bet at some point he literally goes, take the money back and runs. He already has horrific reviews, and she's going to claim she's a victim of the lawyer now. And her path in life is, I'm a victim of this person, they stole from me, and then she makes up some adult, how do I say this on YouTube appropriately without getting in trouble? She makes some adult reference that they did something. Like when she called me a child rapist because I'm a rapper. We all know. And every person in her life, she's a victim of them. They stole from her. Everybody's at fault but her. And then they somehow did something along those lines of being a rapper, okay? And so he has no idea what she's about to do to him through all of this, because this is her life pattern, and it has never stopped up to this point. Now, she's 60. No, she's 61. No, she's 62. By the way, she's given all of those ages. She doesn't even know how old she is, but she knows how her mind works. This is her life pattern. She destroys everybody in her life, burns the bridge, and then she runs.